The Mazda 2 is arguably the only Mazda I have no qualms about being naturally aspirated. It's light on its feet and on fuel thanks to a curb weight of only a ton. It's compact, super nippy around town, and goes about its business with no issues. This is the latest refresh of the 4th generation DJDL model, which first debuted in 2014. So the big question is, how well does it hold up against the competition 12 years on? Well, let's find out together as I unpack its practicality, its features, its driving dynamics, and monthly running costs. And without further ado, welcome to another Car Talks review. Car Talks. Power, precision, performance. For the latest refresh of the Mazda 2, Mazda Southern Africa have beefed up the equipment list to the entry-level active trim, while adding sporty aesthetic touches. You now get features that were previously associated with higher derivatives, including a 7-inch touch display with Mazda2 Connect, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. What we have on test is the mid-spec dynamic automatic, and it gets yellow accents on the grille and on the rear bumper. But that solid grille gives me EV vibes. I'm not sure if I'm seeing that alone. Let me know in the comments below. You get 15-inch alloys, cruise control, and a shark fin antenna. There's also a brand new aero grey exterior paint color which we got to sample in the updated CX-3 that we had on test. All models in the lineup share the same 1.5-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine producing 85 kilowatts and 148 Nm of torque, which this dynamic sends to the front wheels via a 6-speed automatic gearbox. The 5-speed manual is now only available in the entry-level active. Now this is a Sky Active G engine, which I've already explained in detail what that means in the Mazda 3 review, so I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. The manufacturer claims that this will do the 0 to 100 km/h sprint in 10.5 seconds. So not too far off the much more expensive Mazda 3 Estina that we had on test a few months ago. Again, thanks to that curb weight of only a ton. Moving on to practicality and features, boot capacity comes in at 250 liters. Comparatively, the VW Polo gets an extra 100 liters, while the recently discontinued Renault Clio 5 gets 391 liters. Well, discontinued in the South African market, that is. There are of course a plethora of options you can go for within the B segment, so you're not limited to the options I've just mentioned. Anyway, the rear bench folds in a 60/40 configuration, and under the boot floor is your space-saver spare wheel. The tailgate is manually operated, which is perfectly fine for this segment. Crossing over to the rear cabin, you get a cloth bench without a center armrest, which is typical for this segment. You get ISOFIX anchor points for your child seat, 6 airbags, and a 5-star Euro NCAP rating. USB ports are not available in the rear, so that's very telling of this vehicle's age, but you do get a small storage compartment. The rear passengers are also treated to these airplane-style sleeves to help declutter the rear cabin on road trips. Rear legroom is pretty tight, and sitting behind my driving position, my knees are touching the driver's seat. And for reference, I am 1.78 meters tall or 5'10" for those who are in the Americas. At least the rear windows are electric. And that takes us straight into the front cabin. You get manually operated cloth seats with height adjustment for the driver, and these are quite comfortable, I must say. Interior storage space is limited, but it's on par with the B segment anyway, so you get decent sized door bins and a cubbyhole, but no center console storage. And the 2 cup holders you're seeing are shared with the rear occupants as well. You get 2 USB Type-A ports, a 12-volt socket, and an aux cable jack, which I presume no one will ever use. The last time I saw an aux cable with my naked eyes was in primary school, and I am old. What is cool about this interior though is that you get this solid interior panel that you can spec in either mirror black, pure white, or this mint color. You get a 7-inch infotainment that you operate through the swivel wheel. And this is what I said about this setup in the CX-3 review because it's identical. And despite the fact that I like swivel wheel controlled infotainment systems, the swivel wheel in the CX-3 is a bit too narrow. so it looks like I'm about to eat pap with my hands. But the screen does become a touchscreen when the vehicle is stationary. Now this has the Mazda2 Connect operating system, which is starting to feel a bit ancient, but it does have everything you need from your connectivity settings to the vehicle status monitor, which shows you things like your next service and the current fuel consumption levels. Based on the spec sheet, this should have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but these options were grayed out in the settings, even with my phone plugged in via the USB cable. But there's probably a workaround for that somewhere in the settings. The instrument cluster is mostly analog, but has a couple of digital screens, and you get a beautiful leather-wrapped multifunction steering wheel. And not to mention physical aircon dials and buttons, so thank you Mazda for listening to us. The dynamic trim gets a 6-speaker surround sound system, so head over to my YouTube shorts to have a listen. Given that this is Mazda's most affordable vehicle in the lineup, it does have a lot of hard interior plastics, but apart from that, it feels solidly built. So there's no exception on quality from Mazda once again. Before we get to driving dynamics, if you're enjoying these videos, then please go ahead and smash the subscribe button to become a part of the family. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you don't miss a single one of our epic reviews. Moving on to driving dynamics, after weeks of having back-to-back SUVs on test on the channel, it's pretty refreshing being behind the wheel of something so light and so nimble. It's much closer to the ground, and so I feel connected to what each of those wheels are doing beneath me. The driving position is also bang on because the driver's seat is height adjustable, so you can get really low. Okay, the engine. 85 kilowatts is not a whole lot, but this weighs only a ton, so it's quite peppy and springy. It's also got a sport mode button which lets you hold on to the revs a little longer. Whether you really need that with only 85 kilowatts to play with is up for debate. Personally, it doesn't make the vehicle feel any much faster. Nevertheless, you can fling this about with confidence when cornering, and that is thanks to the McPherson suspension up front. It also has the torsion beam suspension in the rear, so it can feel a little too rigid and crashy when those rear wheels go over bumps, just like in the CX-3. Interestingly, this still gets a good old mechanical handbrake, so I suppose you could technically do burnouts if you really wanted to. Out on the freeway, you can keep up with traffic at 120 kilometers per hour with no issues at all. And once you've gotten up to speed and the revs have settled, it becomes a quiet highway cruiser. Claimed fuel consumption is 6 liters per 100 kilometers on the combined cycle, and I've been averaging just above that at 6.5 liters to the 100. Which I think is okay given that this is a naturally aspirated engine at 1,700 meters above sea level out here in Johannesburg. Once again, you get Mazda's class-leading warranty and service plan, so this gets a 3-year unlimited kilometer service plan and a 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty. And so the Mazda2 really gives you the feeling that it'll outlast anything else in its class. Other highlight features include LED headlamps, a push-to-start ignition, and a generous choice of 9 colors to choose from, including the all-new Aero Grey. The unit we're in is finished in Airstream Blue. What is missing in the features of this vehicle is rear park distance control, which is a shame given the price point of this mid-spec. And that takes us straight into pricing and cost of ownership. The range kicks off with a 5-speed manual active trim which starts from 336,000 rands all the way up to the top spec individual for 417,000 rands, which gets all the bells and whistles including head-up display, keyless entry, and partial leather seats amongst others. We're in the mid-spec dynamic which kicks off from 371,000 rands, and on finance, it'll set you back 7,000 rands a month over 6 years at the current prime interest rate of 10.5% per annum. Insurance is risk profile dependent, and the cheapest quote I got came in just under 1,800 rands. A full tank of petrol will cost you 1,200 rands at the current inline price of 95 octane for its 44-liter fuel tank. which would then bring your total cost of ownership to 10,000 rands. Comparatively, the pricing of the VW Polo is a little higher, but you are getting a bit more car in terms of size and in features. The B segment is heavily contested in South Africa, and we've seen cars that were once favorites like the Ford Fiesta and Renault Clio come and go. So you really have to stand out and go above and beyond in order to sway buyers, while still keeping the price of the product competitive, which is a challenging balance to strike. And maybe that's why we haven't seen an all-new Mazda 2 in such a long time in South Africa, because that would certainly push the price upwards, and price is a big consideration in this segment. So do let me know, would you rather have a car that's been around for a while but at a lower price point, or would you be happy paying a 50 to 100,000 rand premium for the latest tech and features? You know how VW South Africa continues selling the old Polo as the Polo Vivo in order to target lower middle class earners. So maybe Mazda can look into that if they still want to continue selling this current shape. So call it a Mazda 2 Vivo equivalent or whatever you want to call it, and then give us an all-new Mazda 2 with all of the niceties of a modern vehicle selling concurrently in order to compete at that level of the current Polo. As always, let me know, given the 3 to 400,000 rand price bracket, what you're getting. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.